All right, good morning, everyone. Again, thank you for those of you who made it in. I am recording this, so if anyone didn't make it in due to my technical glitch with the passcode thing, we'll watch that for next time. But anyway, hopefully we'll make this fairly quick. Um, but a number of people had asked for it, and I've shown a few of you either in person or whatever the case might be, how I do a CMA, which might be a little different than how you were taught. Works for me, may not work for you, may work for you with some modifications that you'll do. So, but I definitely want this, as short as the class is probably going to be, I do want it to be interactive. So feel free to jump in if you have any questions. But um, probably the main thing that I want to convey, and I hear this a lot from agents, and they're probably just saying it like they don't necessarily really mean it. I think it's kind of like just something you say as an agent, but it'll either be before they're going to list a property, or it might be a month after they listed a property and it's not selling. But I'll hear them say, well, the CMA said the property was worth this. And, I think that's probably the main thing I want to convey, is that a CMA can't say anything. I mean, as much as we might want to think that, even an appraisal is like a scientific document. If any of you have ever had an appraisal fail, or maybe you've recently had an appraisal pass on a property, that you sort of know in your heart or your mind the property is not worth what it's selling for, but the appraisal came in. So, the CMA can't say anything. An appraisal can't even really say anything. It's whatever the person who put that document together thinks. I mean, I can make a CMA say, just about anything, or within, certainly a fairly wide range. So, either in your gut or in your heart or in your mind, you have to know what you think the property's worth, and then, convey that to the seller. And you might have to go through the CMA process to even, zero in on or come up with your own opinion. But in the final analysis, that number, that opinion that you give the seller, that's your expert opinion, of what it's worth. And, you may talk to someone else in the office if you're new, or get someone else's opinion, but, ultimately you kind of have to own that, for better or worse. And I've lost on listings before, only to see some other agent list it for more, and then it actually sold for more than I even thought that it would. So, those situations really, kind of sting. So I tend to err on the side of caution these days, especially these days. And, I'll give the seller my opinion, and I'll tell them, look, legally and ethically, I have to, tell you what I really, think, and what I think the property can appraise for. But for marketing purposes, or for specific goals the seller might has, we might choose to price that property higher, but at least I told them the truth on paper. I don't want to lie to get a listing. I don't want to artificially inflate my opinion to get the listing. And I know there's probably a few agents that do that. I think there's probably more who honestly convince themselves, if the owner said they want to get 400, the agent thinks, yeah, I can get you 400, because that's what they know the seller wants to hear, and they convince themselves, so they don't really think they're lying. But anyway, that's my opinion on that. So this property that, so actually, I don't usually do a lot of these. I actually got a weird text from somewhere asking if I wanted to, get a referral for a property listing, and there was a 30% referral fee attached. I don't normally do that, but in this market with so few listings, and it was just in Hollis, I decided to go ahead and take it. I don't know where this company got my name. I thought perhaps it was even a scam to begin with, but turns out it was real. They do send the lead to 3 different agents. So, little competition there, I suppose, but I decided to go for it. Now, when I first have a CMA that I'm going to do, the first thing I want to do is collect all the information that I can about the property. So I'm going to start in the MLS. I'm going to see if the property's ever been in the MLS, and I'm going to print all the, history, whether it's one listing or two or three, just to kind of see what's been going on with that property. I'll print the old disclosures. So I kind of have a handle on that stuff. So that's super convenient if a property's been listed before. Whether I have that or not, I'm also going to check the assessing information for the property. Hopefully it's one of the towns that uses either vision appraisal to collect their assessing information or something like that, where I've got a nice picture of the property, I've got the layout. Those are really helpful. But basically just whatever town you're dealing with, you could just search, town of Gorham assessing, and if you end up on the assessing page for the town, hopefully, the towns are getting better as you get more rural. Some of the towns don't have very good information online, but hopefully they do. And from the assessing page, you can get to, like I said, a lot of the towns use outside services for doing their property assessing, and you can link out to one of those. And, if you can get a picture, that's great. If you can't get a picture, you may need to drive by the property. Actually, for this property, I'm going to start sharing my screen here. This property here. So this property had never been listed in the MLS that I can tell. The owners, well, they said they bought it. I don't know, they bought it like 20 years ago, but I couldn't see that it had ever been in the MLS, which I thought was a little strange. The town of Hollis has a little bit of assessing information online, but not much. I mean, basically that you can get the taxes and the assessed amount, but you're not getting a picture or a layout or square footage or anything like that. So, but on Google Maps, I was able to get this picture, which can everybody see that? Hopefully my screen sharing is working.
Bill, it's showing your Gmail.
It's still, oh, that's so weird.
I see my own signature.
Well, that's why I asked, because I was wondering if it was showing the right thing. What the heck? All right, let's try that again. All right, new share. Okay, here we go. I'm still learning how to use Zoom. Okay, do you see the do you see the Google House? Okay, so this is pretty helpful. So every once in a while an agent will reach out to me and they'll want help with a market analysis, and they'll start reading off all the information that they have about the house or whatever, which is great, don't get me wrong. But then I'll ask them, well, do you have a picture you can send me? And they'll, and sometimes I'd even been to the house and had checked it out, but they hadn't taken any pictures. Well, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So if you can send me a picture, that's going to really help. We won't get into it a lot today, but I mean, through this process, I mean, if this house were sitting, 10 feet from, Route 202, or 25 or something like that, or had, a tar paper shack, next door and practically, right on the property line, those are some things that can drastically affect the property value, or at least, what a buyer's, willing to pay for it. So, having a picture, can really help shape an opinion. So, I did ask the folks a few questions on the phone, basically found out it was a 2-bedroom ranch with an attached garage with a master bedroom above. They thought it was built in the 50s. I always ask folks, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think, the condition is? How would you rate it? And so they'll tell me that. So that'll give me, a little bit of an idea of what I'm heading into. But this is the house I'm going to go look at 1 o'clock today. Haven't been there yet, but I really like to do a one-stop listing appointment. You might have learned about a two-step listing appointment at some point in a class or something. And that's basically, of course, where you're going to go look at the house, talk to the people, again, hopefully take a few pictures, and then, go back to the office, put your market analysis together and go back and meet with them. I probably lost a few listings early in my career doing a two-step listing appointment because the sellers were maybe meeting with other people, and the other agents showed up ready to talk about the value, and the seller liked them and they basically said, hey, do you want to list? And the sellers were like, yeah, okay, we'll list with you. And so that was it. So while Bill was back at the office working on his CMA, some other agent was listing the property. So I tend to do a one-stop now. People are super busy, and sometimes they're just ready to go, and you have to be really careful. You always want to go to the appointment ready to walk away with the listing. Take paperwork with you, have everything ready to go, because they will tell you on the phone, well, we're just thinking about listing, we're not quite ready, we're going to talk to a few people, this, that, and the other. But a lot of times they're just trying to put off a salesman. They don't want to tell you, that they're, ready to list, because, then you're just going to kind of go for the jugular. So a lot of times they'll tell you they're not ready to go. But if you show up and you're ready and you're professional and they like your opinion and they like you and whatever, you always want to ask for the listing, before you leave. And more often than not, I'll see, husband and wife look at each other and kind of nod their heads and just agree that, that they are ready to go. So, anyway, so that's where we stand on that. So I've got enough information to go by. And so now I'm going to, I guess I need to switch my screen share. Let's see, we'll go back here. All right, hopefully everyone sees Flex MLS. If you don't, let me know. So I'm going to start with a quick search. And obviously make sure it says residential right here. Every once in a while, I'll have been looking at cross property or land or something, and I'll start entering all my criteria and everything. And then 5 minutes later, realize that I'm in land and I got to switch back to residential and I lose all my work. So first category, here is status. So I'm going to hold down the control key and I'm going to uncheck pending continue to show. I'm assuming this defaults to the same thing for everyone. I don't know, but mine defaults to the first 4 categories, but I don't want to look at pending continue to show. The first thing that I'm looking at is basically I'm going to put my buyer hat on and I'm going to search for property that I think would be competing with the property that I'm going to list if I was a buyer looking. So I'm going to try to replicate a buyer search. And of course, the buyer's probably on realtor.com or Zillow, or, they might be on mainlistings.com. They're not in the MLS. I mean, we've got a pretty, vibrant system here to look, but I'll include coming soon. There's probably not going to be very much in there. I know that pending continue to show, I mean, they're technically still available and they could be shown, but I think the reality is most agents aren't really, probably actively showing those. So I will throw those in after. But as far as what my subject will really be competing with, I'm really just looking for the actives and the actives with kickouts. And then, maybe there's some coming soon property that would be in there. So, the next part is pretty important. And, for an experienced agent, it's probably pretty easy. For a newer agent, it might be a little harder, but the area that you search can be pretty important. So, needless to say, if you're looking in, downtown Portland for, comps for something in Hollis, okay, that's not going to work. Someone looking in Hollis, school districts to me are kind of a big deal. If someone's looking in one town in a school district and they have children, then they're probably, willing to buy in the other town. So SAD 6 is obviously a big market for some of our agents. So, so if I'm looking at Hollis or Standish, I'm going to look in Buxton and Leamington as well. Am I going to throw in, Waterboro, maybe. If it's something in Leamington, I might throw in Limerick or Cornish. If it's something in, Steep Falls and Standish, maybe I'm throwing in Sebago. What I don't want to do is throw in a town that, maybe the schools are considered, significantly better, or, the prices are, 10 to 20% higher in general. So if I'm looking at something in Standish, I'm not usually heading, east. So I don't want to include Gorham. I know, the same house in Standish or Gorham is going to sell for significantly more in Gorham. Not going to, sometimes I'll compare, Gorham and Scarborough, but I'm even very careful there. If I'm looking at something in Wyndham, then yeah, I'm going to look in Gray. I may look in Standish. Standish and Wyndham are probably fairly equal. I may look in Raymond. Do I want to go all the way to Bridgeton for something in Wyndham? Probably not. So again, every situation is different, and feel free to talk to me or your office manager if you have a hard time. But you don't, I've seen some agents, sometimes they just go a certain distance from the property. And again, if that's going to include a town that's, prices are generally much higher, then that's going to throw off your CMA, and you don't really want to do that. And sometimes you have to explain to sellers, they have a house in Standish and I just saw something in Gorham sell for this. And sometimes we have to, they know better. They know that stuff sells for more. So sometimes we just have to remind them. So I'm going to do Hollis, Buxton, Leamington, and Standish. All right, so I've got my towns in there. Next thing, just kind of going down on the list. So price. So, again, most agents, even a fairly new agent, you might have some rough idea on the price, and you can be, you can have a pretty wide range here. And I think you want to have a fairly wide range, because you don't want to show up, on a one-stop listing appointment and, have the seller, have the house be way better than you thought it was, and you're not prepared, or, the seller thinks it's a certain number and, you don't have comps to cover that. You might show up and the house is a real dump, and, so you might need to have things on the lower end of your search. So, for this ranch with a 2-car garage in Hollis, I think it's pretty safe to say it's probably somewhere between 200 and 400,000. And again, that's a super wide net. I can shrink that down once I start, getting my search results, and I might change it. But initially, what I'm trying to do is I want to exclude, say some mobile homes, or some seasonal properties, or some properties that, are in very poor condition. And I also want to exclude the stuff that's on the super high end. So I feel pretty comfortable about this, $200,000, price range. Next thing I might do is the year built. And this is something that trips a lot of agents up. In fact, I think it trips them up in the whole CMA process, which is, I think you were told in class, some class, new licensing class or whatever, that when you do a market analysis, you're trying to match the subject. And while that might be true if you're doing adjustments, which you'll see by the end of this, I don't do adjustments. I don't really encourage you to do adjustments to a large degree. And I'll tell you why, but if there's a brand new house, say I'm listing this 1950s ranch, and there's a brand new ranch, maybe it doesn't even have a garage, but it's a brand new ranch and it's right down the street. And let's say I'm only looking, because again, I was taught to match, the comps to my subject. Let's say I'm only looking at, 50-year-old ranch style homes. Well, I'm not going to see that brand new ranch that's on the market, because I excluded that from my search. So you want to see everything that your seller is competing with, because buyers are going to see what your seller's competing with, and they may go buy that other house instead. And that's why I'm saying keep your buyer hat on while you're doing this. You're not doing an appraisal search. You're not doing a search to try to match something to your subject. You'll notice I don't put in house style. I don't care if it's a ranch or a cape or a colonial, especially now with such low inventory. I can afford to look at everything, and it's still not going to be that many comps. But I'm not trying to match up bedrooms. If I'm looking at a 2-bedroom house and there's a 3-bedroom house that's priced, very competitively with my subject, well, I don't want to exclude that. If my subject's on 1 acre and there's a house with 5 acres down the street, and I've limited my CMA search to, stuff on less than 2 acres, then I'm not going to see that. But what I do potentially want to do, in many cases, I've sort of taken a sneak peek at how this is going to go today, so I probably won't do it. But if I was looking at a brand new house or something built in the last 20 years, I might exclude, stuff that was, say, built before 1950 or 1920. I don't want the old antique farmhouses, because a lot of buyers are not really looking for those anymore. And my subject probably isn't competing with those. So I might exclude those. So,
Bill,
yes, ma'am.
I've run into this, and probably we
Yes.
all have, when they've been seriously rehabbed and flipped, and they're pretty much a new build with just
Yeah.
the origin. How do you consider
I mean,
that?
condition is always a factor. And this is one of the reasons, I'm glad you asked that question. It's one of the reasons I don't really encourage a lot of adjustments, only from the standpoint that, condition is a factor. You could have a 10-year-old house that's just had the crap beat out of it, so, okay, so the age might be good, but the condition isn't. And then you could have a 30-year-old house that, well, everything has failed in the last few years. The boiler needed to be replaced. All the windows have been replaced. The kitchen's been updated, all brand new appliances, new roof. So that 30-year-old house could actually be in better condition than the 10-year-old house. So certainly you want to take condition into account, but I wouldn't get too hung up on, the age. But the conditions, definitely a factor. And maybe it's one of the easier ones to, like I said, if you were doing any adjusting, and sometimes I'll do some rough adjusting, just on the comps that I've printed. Like if I know a seller's house is really rough and it probably needs $30,000 worth of work, then, maybe I'm saying, look, if your house was in better condition, I might suggest you price it this, but where we need this much work, we're adjusting for that. And again, it's all, I know where this is going to end up. Or I know what I want to tell the seller. And that's what you want to know, is what are you going to tell them? You don't want the CMA to lead you down a path that you don't want to go. If you think the house is worth 300, don't be showing them comps for houses that are 450, because they're going to zero in on those. And hold on, I need to admit someone here.
So age for like a pretty much fully renovated home, for whatever reason, so it doesn't have lead paint, let's say, and because it's just been totally re-sheetrocked and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let age be too much of a factor.
No, I wouldn't. Like I said, because I don't think buyers necessarily are. I mean, especially now, there's so little inventory. Buyers are probably looking at everything that's, like I said, they might exclude antique homes if they don't want a really old farmhouse, but they're probably willing to look at something that's 30 years old. You'll see sometimes on the town tax card, it'll have I think the codes they use are AYB and EYB. One's for actual year built and one's for effective year built. And if something's been rehabbed or something like that, it could be 30 years old. So the actual age might say 2000, but then the effective year built might say 2020, because it's been completely gone through. So
Where would
sometimes
you usually Oh, go
Yeah.
ahead. Where would you usually see that, AYE or EYE?
On the, well, like I said, on the tax card, on the assessing information, and I just pointed out from the standpoint that even if the town hasn't done that in your mind, in your analysis, you can kind of do that. Like I said, there is such a thing as the actual age of something versus the how it appears, when you walk through it. So I'm just going to take a sneak peek. So right now I've got 4 towns. I've got a $200,000 price range, and I've only got 20 comps, which is not really a lot, but I want to take a quick peek at those just to see. I do want to add something. I do want to add something to my search. So this is how, this is how my screen appears. Yours might appear different. This isn't really intended to be an MLS class per se, but you can, there are ways that you can adjust your column searches as far as what appears here. You just click on view and you can add different columns to your search, take different columns out. I don't remember if square footage was one of the standard ones or I added that, but so a lot of times, so I'm going to just sort by square footage. Sort descending. So let's see. So yeah, I've got 26. I probably, so as I'm looking at the square footage and I don't know the exact square footage of my subject, I suspect it's somewhere around 1,500 square feet. I'm kind of going to glance over here at the price. So I'm probably going to go ahead and not look at comps over 2,000 square feet, just because I know that's getting, really, really up there, and pretty much everything over 2,000 square feet is over 300,000. Although I'm seeing quite a few under 2,000 square feet that are also over 300,000, but we'll deal with that. Year built, I'm going to take a look at that. I'm going to sort that ascending and just see. Yeah, so I've got, 5 or 6 here, 7 that are, getting up there in age a little bit. I don't know if this cottage on Eleanor is seasonal, but I'll show you how to do that as well. So I'm going to go back here to edit search. I was talking to an agent the other day who didn't know how to do this, so I want to point it out in case anyone else doesn't. But over here in the left-hand side in your criteria search, you'll see this little green plus sign where you can add a field to the search. So any field that you can think of that you can see on an MLS sheet or that's available to you when you're putting in a listing, you can add that field to your normal search criteria. So whether it's water body or something like that, if I type in water, it's going to bring up all the fields that have water in them. And then, let's say I want to add water body type because I'm doing a CMA for something that's on a lake or a pond. So you just hit the plus sign and that'll bring that over here. And now that's available to me to use in my search criteria. But back to what I'm doing right now. So year bill, I'm going to go ahead and do 1940, which I know is really old, but if my subject's 1950, then, it's still in there, but I'm also getting rid of the really old stuff. And again, I'm going to put in 2021 because I want to see any new construction that, we might be competing with, especially if the seller wants to get crazy on the price. I can say, look, this is what a brand new house, similar to yours is going for. You're definitely not worth more than a brand new house. So, that's going to kind of new construction often caps, the value of an existing house. So I think it's really interesting to keep those in there. Like I said, the square foot finished above grade. I probably don't need to put a minimum in there, but like I said, I'm going to cap it out at 2,000 square feet just to see where that takes me. I could throw the garage in there, but I'm not going to, just because I can already see up here. I'm always watching this. So right now I've got 11 results. So I'm kind of always keeping an eye on that just to make sure that, you know, I'm not going, you know, too crazy on that. So I'm going to hit, oh, and then I've got seasonal. I added seasonal to my search just because I didn't want any seasonal properties, you know, to work their way into my CMAs unless I'm comping out a waterfront or another seasonal property. So on this, and everyone might not know this trick, I don't know, but so I can hit yes, which that means yes, I want seasonal properties, which I don't. So if you click on where it says of, you can click on it and actually change it to not. So it's not of yes. And the reason I do not of yes instead of seasonal no is because a lot of times agents don't know if their property is seasonal, or they know it's seasonal, but they don't want it not to come up when agents are doing searches. So they won't mark it as, you know, they may not just mark it as anything. So I'm basically trying to exclude the ones where the agent knows it's seasonal and they're telling me it's seasonal. So I guess that in essence, that didn't take out anything, but that's fine. So I've got
Bill?
11. Yes, ma'am.
The not of yes.
Yeah.
Did you tap that twice? Was that a double tap? Is that what you did?
I just hit, well, I hit yes, which,
Yep.
and then I hit not, and then I clicked because it said seasonal of yes. And then when I clicked it, it changed to not of yes.
Oh.
Which I know is a little, like I said, it seems a little counterintuitive, but it's.
No, I like that a lot, because there's certain types of property. Maybe I don't want to include double wides, or maybe I don't want to include, so that's great, because I don't want to go through and click, 17 different housing styles. If I can do a not. Awesome. Thank you.
Right. And so I didn't select property subtype. You mean, you really could. I mean, there's not very many. I know where I'm doing my search. There's not many condominiums, needless to say, in SAD 6. There are some manufactured homes. Maybe there could be something over 200. I don't know. But I will check single family just to see. So that actually did bring it down to 7. So I guess I should have done that. So I guess there were some condos or double wides or something in my search. So now I'm down to 7. So
I'm sorry, not of yes. Isn't that the same thing as unknown?
well, it isn't, because like I said, I don't think it's a required field. I mean, I guess you could check yes and hold the control key down and also hit unknown. But I'm not sure that that's a required field. So some agents leave it blank. And if you say, well, I only want stuff that's no, then you're not getting the stuff that's blank. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. Better sense. Thanks.
Yeah. So the only ones I'm not wanting to get are the ones that are definitely have been checked yes by the listing agent because they know it's seasonal. So
Gotcha.
So I feel pretty comfortable with my search at this point. I mean, it's got a shockingly low number of comps in it, but now I want to take a little bit closer look, at what I've got. So I've got this waterfront, property. I could probably check off no to waterfront, because I don't really want to be looking at the waterfront comps per se. And this one's only 720 square feet, which I could exclude it that way. Now, if I hit my down arrow, it's going to actually let me scroll through these here on the left. So this is funny. Wow, this is a little shocking, but I'll open up my open up a window into my world. So I actually had this property listed. I was just thinking of this seller the other day and thinking I should reach out to them. This ranch is in a really great neighborhood, but it is incredibly dated. I had it listed for $250, which I thought was high a year ago. It's on a slab. Again, wicked dated. Every surface is super dated. We got like no action at 250 a year or so ago. The seller wanted 275. you know, something like that. So now I see they've got it listed for 375 with another agent. So that's pretty interesting. We'll see. We'll see how that works out for them. To me, that's way overpriced. So I'm just taking a look at this. Yeah, I mean, I think that's in probably many aspects is very similar to my subject, other than it's in Standish versus Hollis. But
Bill, that's actually my listing. If you have,
oh, I didn't even notice. Ah, look at that.
okay. If you have any questions, I probably could.
Well, yeah, you know, sometimes you might reach out to you know, an agent that you know in the office and say, hey, what kind of action are you getting, you know, on your listing here? And if they say, boy, you know, it's only been 5 days, but you know, we've been, you know, slammed. We've had 20 showings. We've already got a couple offers, or you know, maybe they're telling you they've had crickets. You know, then that's, you know, might be a little inside information that you know didn't know. So this is 400 for an 1,800 square foot ranch on 5 acres in Buxton. I'll sit down, I'll read the remarks a little bit and kind of see. I mean, I'm not really thinking that my subject is worth 400, but at the moment, that's where my search is up to. Here's a brand new split entry, 1,400 square foot for 379. Another brand new ranch for 339, another ranch. Yeah, so not a lot out there, not a lot going on. Again, you know, this is where I kind of skip to instinct a little bit. Like, I don't personally think my subject's worth over 250. I mean 350. I do think it's probably worth at least 200. I mean 250, pardon me. So I'm going to adjust this here. So I'm going to say 250 to 350, which what's that going to do to my comp? So now I've only got 3 results. I might go down here and take out the square footage now, only because I've refined the price. So to use a stark example, but if there was something in my seller's price range that had 3,000 square feet, I don't want to exclude that from the search, because maybe there's a buyer who would like to get, you know, a lot of square footage for the same price. So I'm going to take that out, and that didn't do a darn thing to my search results. So so that's fine. I might even, let's see what happens if I take out the age now. Yeah, that gets me back up to 7. All right, so I'm going to leave that the same. And so this is the point where, okay, so this I've done with my buyer hat on, so to speak. You know, now I need to sort of put my agent hat back on a little bit, because, you know, I need to show my seller some evidence, you know, some further evidence of what I think their house is worth. And even though what's sold is sold and it's not my job to be the appraiser, it is good to know, well, okay, there, you know, there's some stuff out there that, you know, will support what I've said. So I'm going to hold the control key down. I'm going to add pending continue to show and pending to my search. And I'm watching what this does to my search results. Ideally, I'd really only like to have about 30 results total in my search. I don't want to show up there with 50 comps. To me, that's just, you know, a little bit unnecessary. So now that I'm seeing what's happening there, I might I might go back and add my year built in there or whatever. Knowing, I love pending properties for the simple reason that, you know, they're not something that sold 6 months ago. Theoretically, they're something that recently, you know, went under contract. You know, they were recently listed, recently went under contract. So I tend to really like those properties as far as helping me, you know, price my subject. I am going to click on closed here. I don't bother to look at expired and withdrawn. I mean, if we were in a really dead market or really slow market, and stuff was expiring on a regular basis, then that would be significant, and that would be something to show your seller. I remember 20 years ago, we did that a lot. Like, you know, see, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you know, these 5 properties recently expired. They were asking too much. There's no way you can get that price. But that's not really happening now, so I'm not going to bother to look at those. Now, the pending date, I don't even really know why they put this here per se. Pending is a current status. So you don't really need a date range there. So, but I'm just going to kind of ignore that. The close date, obviously, so it defaults to 1 year. I don't need to go back a year to look at comps. In fact, I don't even really need that many solds in my search as far as I'm concerned. I'm more going to encourage my seller to price based on what their current competition is and what I can see that's, you know, recently gone under contract and how many days on market those listings were and that sort of thing. So again, knowing that I'd like to be around 30, you know, and given how many things are selling, I'm just going to go back. I'm going to try going back just, whoa, what happened there? Oh, all right, I'm going to try going back a little less than 60 days for starters and see what that does. All right, so that takes me to 50. Let's see what if I do May 1st. All right, that takes me to 42. So I know that, you know, I think I was at 32 with the pending. So there's about 10 solds in there, which is fine. Like I said, I'm going to go back into this year bill and I'm going to do my 1940 to 2021 again. And that takes me to 30, which is coincidentally right where I want to be. So I'm going to go back to list. I am going to sort these by status. And then I'm going to go to, so this is where, so I'm going to click on CMA up here at the top. This is how I mean, I'm going to print these comps and I'll show you how I do that, but, and take those with me. But you know, I want something that looks a little bit official and obviously helps tell the story that I want to tell. So I'm going to click on CMA here and I'm recording this. So if you need to go back and look at this later, if I go too fast, I've already gone way over time of what I meant to do. But so I'm going to click use all results. And then I'm going to click over here on statistical CMA. And this defaults to statistical average field. It ends up sorting stuff by square footage, which is fine. And I'm going to hit next step. And then I'm going to click view. So this is what you get, and this is what you can print. And what I like about this is so it gives you your search criteria. So you can tell your seller, you know, here's what I did for search criteria. I did everything that's current pending sold in the 4 towns in the school district. I look between this price range, you know, whatever the, you know, over the square footage, that sort of thing. So the key numbers here to me are the averages. You know, you've always got a high and low. Of course, sometimes the average is skewed if you don't have very many listings in that category. And sometimes you have to explain that to a seller. But, you know, so this is giving me an average list price of 308. The pending continue to show. I mean, it's really nice when you see some sort of a pattern here, you know, and the prices are somewhat grouped together. I mean, that means you've got a good mix, you know, hopefully of properties. The close, you know, again, so the average, don't be surprised if, you know, you would almost expect properties to be, you know, listed higher in most cases and in a more balanced market. Maybe this is a bad market to give an example, but usually the listings that are still for sale and still sitting on the market are going to be priced the highest. And then when they actually go pending, maybe the price was reduced a little bit. And then once they actually close out and you actually see what, you know, they sold for, you know, that's lower. Of course, you know, the actual close price over here ends up being, you know, quite a bit higher. And that's not surprising given what we know is going on with multiple offers and over asking price offers and that sort of thing. But, you know, but this gives you something to talk to the seller about as far as, you know, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you know, you're only competing with about 3 listings right now with an average sales price of 308. but your square footage is only 900 square feet and the average of these three comps is 1100. So we can't just, necessarily go right to the average sales price. We have to see, what that average property looks like as far as, the square footage and, stuff like that. Days on market's over here. So that's kind of helpful. So I'm actually printing this. I'll just right click my mouse and hit print and go ahead and print that off. I am going to print this off because this is what I'm going to take with me to my appointment today. And then I'm going to go back here and return to search results. Now I'm going to print these and anyone who's worked with me in the office probably knows that when I see 30 full page comps coming off the printer, I freak out a little bit because I just know that not only are we wasting paper and ink, but we're also like throwing way too much information at the seller. Like they are not going to look at all 30 of those pages, just way too much data for them. So I'll show you what, in my opinion, you want to print, and it's not just because I'm paying for the ink and the toner, but so I'm going to hit, you want to make sure it's listings of print, all 30 results, version. I print the private here because I'm actually printing a 4 listing summary report. It's not going to show the listing agent information or the internal remarks or anything like that, but it is going to show the days on market, which is the main thing that I'm going for. And then I'll hit print. And so eventually this will come up, and this applies to any print job that you're doing, because sometimes agents, I find that agents are surprised what came out on the printer and it wasn't exactly what they wanted, but this is going to show you exactly what you're going to get, and this is exactly what I want. But I've changed a setting that if I turn it back to the default, so I went into more settings here on my print dialog, and the scale is normally default, and you'll see what happens there, which is that the MLS hasn't really formatted this properly. So depending on how many remarks the listing agent has put on the listing and such, the 4 listing summary report can be really messed up, and a lot of times you're getting information running onto separate pages. You've got blank pages, stuff like that in here, and it doesn't really look really good, and it probably wasn't what you intended. So if you change the scale from the default to custom, and you could play around with it. 80% definitely works. Sometimes 85% works, and this is just going to format everything on the pages better. And so now instead of handing the seller 30 full page comps, I've just got 8 pages with all the comps, and I'll make some notes on here. I'll separate stuff according to category, because they may not be able to tell where the breakdowns between current and pending are. So I'm going to hit these to print. And then, one of the other things that I'll put on there, which doesn't really happen very much nowadays, but I'll go back and I'll scroll through my comps and I'll be looking, just to see if there was any change in the original list price to the current list price. And I'll note that on the form, because this kind of report doesn't show, it only displays the current list price. It doesn't display the original list price. And again, in a more balanced market, you would see a lot of price reductions, happening if something hadn't been selling. But as you can see, none of these comps have ever been reduced in price, because they're all, went pending really quick, or they've only been on the market a few days. So see if there's any questions here in the chat. That's Cindy, what do you mean that's only 23 days? Looks like CMA that is on the right. Cindy, are you still with us by chance? All right, I guess maybe we lost Cindy.
No, she's typing, Bill. I think what she was saying is when you were selecting your time frame for closed properties. It was only a 23-day time period. And I think you were
Yes.
thinking it was, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I tried 4-1, and then that was giving me too many, so I switched it to 5-1, and it still gave me like 10 sold, which is plenty for the purposes that, you know, that I need them for. So I guess bottom line, to kind of wrap up, I don't like pricing off of solds. You know, to me, the solds are something that happened in the past, you know, could have been a month ago, could have been 2 months ago. That doesn't, you know, correlate necessarily to what's going on in the current market in terms of helping my seller get the most that I could. You know, I want to price off what's currently for sale. So that's why I'm not too concerned about having a lot of solds in there. I might be warning my seller that, hey, you know, especially if they want to price higher, hey, we can try that. We don't really have the data. We don't really have the comps to support that price. But so long as I've been honest with you and you know where the market is, we can give that appraisal a shot. And I'm not afraid. A lot of agents are afraid of their property not appraising. I think you only have to be afraid if you haven't told the seller that could happen. If you've explained to the seller that, you know, hey, you want a price here, that's fine. Let's see what the market will bear. If the appraisal fails, to me, all that means is you maxed out on price. You got the seller the absolute top price that you could. And to me, it's not the end of the world if the appraisal fails. If you end up taking, you know, the seller takes bottom line price and the appraisal comes in 25,000 under and you really think the seller got screwed, then you may have the grounds to challenge that. But, you know, nowadays, usually we know that, okay, we're pressing the ceiling here. We're over and above what we probably should get. And we're actually grateful, you know, when it passes, or if it only fails by a little bit, but it's still more than we thought we would get. So I wouldn't be too concerned about appraisal failing, as long as you've warned your seller, you know, that you're pushing the envelope on value. So any other questions before we wrap up? This took an hour. I can't believe it, but I can talk.
Yeah, do you have any opinions on the the CMA? You can do like if you're going through, I think it says do CMA through the MLS, and you can do like a quick, a full, and then you have like another option. What is your opinion on those CMAs in that process?
I don't, yeah, no, that's a great question. You know, so literally, and I, you know, understandably, I've been doing this a while, so maybe that's why I get away with it. I don't know, but I've been doing it for a long time. What I showed you, what I printed, that's what I'm walking in with today. I mean, I'm going to put it in a nice, pretty MREE folder with my business card in it, but that's what I'm walking in with. I'm not doing a pretty cover presentation. I'm not putting anything in a plastic binder. I'm not doing any adjustments. I'm not, honestly, I think I've seen the results of what some of those options do, but I don't really do those. I just sort of feel like I learned a long time ago that the seller pretty much just wants to know the bottom line. They just want to know the number. And, you know, I think if you're a newer agent, you know, or if you're in competition, I mean, yeah, but potentially the agent that walks in, you know, everything being equal, the agent walking in with the prettiest presentation, you know, or the one who's dressed to the nines. I mean, none of that stuff can hurt. And so, you know, when I was a brand new agent, yeah, I wore a suit every day, I wore a tie every day, I wore dress shoes every day, you know, and my presentation was a lot thicker. You know, now I probably go in with a lot less, maybe because I'm able to talk a good game. I don't know. So I think, you know, you should go in with whatever, you know, you feel comfortable with presenting. It certainly can't hurt to be more prepared, or to pretty things up a bit. But any system, whether it's the MLS or there's a few other programs out there that I've seen where agents are just feeding some comps into, and then the program spits out a value, or it spits out adjustments, or You know, agents are asking me, well, how much should I adjust for this or that? You know, one good example is, you know, like bedrooms. You know, agents will ask, well, how much does a bedroom add? And to me, it doesn't really add a lot, from the standpoint that if you have 1,000 square foot house and they've carved 3 bedrooms out of that, well, those bedrooms are going to be smaller than a 2-bedroom house that's also 1,000 square feet that has a little bit bigger bedrooms. So there's just so many factors that can go in to those adjustments. And ultimately, I mean, if I'm going to do adjustments, I'm still going to tweak the adjustments to make sure that the bottom number comes out where I think it should be. And there's so many things, whether it's the condition of the neighboring property or the proximity to the road or the landscaping, or, you know, different factors that could or should be adjusted for, that, you know, I'm really just more comfortable pointing out to my seller, you know, here's the comps, here's the ones that I think are, you know, that you should be focusing on, and here's where I think you should price. And again, I'm not really doing adjustments. I'm not really putting anything into the formal CMA program, but you can do that. And maybe, again, especially as a newer agent, maybe you should be doing that, but just make sure that you can live with the final numbers that those programs are spitting out, or, you know, the comps that you're putting in there. Because typically I think it's going to be fewer. I do this system because I want to show my client or potential client, I want to give them a full market overview. I don't just want to show, you know, when I first learned how to do a CMA, you know, I was taught to show up with, you know, 3 currents, 3 pendings, and 3 solds. And I quickly found out that, you know, I just didn't feel like that was very much data to go by. And I wanted my seller to know that, you know, I've done a more thorough look of the market than, you know, showing up with 3 particular comps. But any other questions out there? All right, everyone, have a happy Monday, and I'll see those of you that are taking the final new construction class on Thursday, where we're going to focus on the role of the buyer agent. So hopefully I'll see some of you then. Have a good day.
Thanks, Bill.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Bye.